Chinga, who is the chief economist at Mintoria Economics, now joins us to talk a little bit more about this. Thank you very much, Ken, for joining us. Now, we are seeing up to 77, and more than actually, billion Kenya shillings in fixed deposit accounts, and coming from a place where Kenya last year retired the 1,000 shilling notes, leading a process that led to about 1 billion shillings lost in the economy. Talk to us about what this means. What is the impact and how does it manifest itself for the pockets of the ordinary mwananchi?
Many thanks, Sharon. Thank you for this opportunity. I think to be able to understand the full extent of money circulation in Kenya, we have to start from last year. And you remember in the month of June, on Madaraka Day, there was an announcement that the CBK would retire about the old 1,000 shilling note from existence. Now that meant that cash in circulation dropped from about 222 billion shillings down to almost 160 billion shillings. That was almost a 70 billion shilling drop in cash in circulation. Now that had a massive impact on businesses. It had a massive impact on the economy. And even for the first time, we saw things such as land prices, which had always been going up prior to that, coming down. Now, the rock bottom was hit in September last year, when it got to about 160 billion. And from that time on, we saw a good recovery. We saw the circulation coming back to 180, 190, and almost clocking 200 billion shillings. The problem with 2020 was when COVID happened. We saw the restriction in measures, and that really slowed down economic growth. And anytime people are very uncertain about economic prospects about the future, what tends to happen is people tend to save more and to spend less. And that's what we are seeing right now, where there is reduced economic activity and people are holding back on money, businesses are shutting down, and jobs are being lost. So that leads us to a very dire economic forecast.
Right, Ken. And obviously, as you have said, this is because of the uncertain climate, uncertain investment climate that is as a result of COVID-19. What then can we say are some of the recommendations? Because, I mean, this is what Kenyans are doing to kind of safeguard their money, the people with that money. So what then can we do from a policy perspective to kind of redeem this economic activity?
Well, there are about 4 things that need to be done quite urgently. Number one needs to start with the government. We need to have an exit strategy. A lot of countries are rolling out exit strategies where they give guidance on various sectors, how they're going to open up. Now in Kenya, obviously, we are focusing on the spread of COVID-19, and there's a model that has been put in place. I think we need to interrogate that model, because one of the things that the Ministry of Health report mentioned was by January next year, we're going to see infections going up to 41 million Kenyans. Now, in a population of 47 million Kenyans, that's almost an 80% infection rate. Now, this model obviously is borrowing from the Imperial College model that was designed by Neil Ferguson at the Imperial College London, and uses a Bayesian model. So we need to interrogate that model. Are we really localizing it to the Kenyan context, or are we just applying it the way it's been applied in the UK? Because with Bayesian models, they can give you very different outcomes depending on the parameters you put in. The second recommendation has to be on a stimulus program. The government needs to roll out 2.0 stimulus. Last time it focused on fiscal stimulus, which was really around reducing tax rates. But on somebody whose income is zero, when you reduce their tax rate, the net effect is zero. What I've always advocated for is a monetary stimulus to be injected into the economy. The third part is businesses, the private sector, the business member organizations need to come together to really look at their business models. They need to be able to negotiate the moratoriums with their banks The 3-month moratoriums for most clients have ended. We need to see whether that can be extended by another 3 months or even another 6 months. Obviously, businesses need to negotiate with their landlords on matters of rent and so forth. Then the last part is the commercial banks. One of the big things has been commercial banks have been putting a lot of money on treasury bills and treasury bonds. Now that needs to start reducing, and we need to see banks starting to lend to the businesses that have started to reopen so we can get that cash flow. If we can do these 4 measures, I expect to see cash flow start circulating, and we can sort of go back to the recovery that we once had early in the year.
Fantastic. Many thanks. Ken Gishinga there, Chief Economist at Mentoria Economics, just lending us his thoughts on what we can do as a country, some of the recommendations to consider regarding just putting the economic activity and money flowing in the economy back to a vibrant place, of course, following this, what is seen as a unique economic trend. Many people are putting their cash away as a safety precaution, up to 77 billion in fixed deposit accounts. Remember, we have this story as our top story, our leading story on the Standard newspaper tomorrow. You can expect to read more about that on your copy, and a breakdown of the numbers as well, what this means for our economy. A complete story on that you can get to read on the Standard newspaper tomorrow. All right, and we're taking another short break here on KT.